Good afternoon. Welcome back to Near Post Flick On Game Week 33 Premier League preview. There's a number of games taking place today. Some interesting games, but I think the biggest game of this weekend is probably Aston Villa Newcastle. So we start off the afternoon with Brentford against Brighton. That should be an interesting game as well. Of course, Brighton probably still chasing a European place this season, so that should be an interesting game. But it's always going to be tough going over to Brentford. Um, I'll probably see that as a maybe 2-1, 2-1 to Brighton. 2-1 to Brighton. They'll have a lot of firepower and, they're always a tough opposition. So I'll say 2-1 Brighton in that game against Brentford. And then Crystal Palace take on Bournemouth. Crystal Palace have been doing well this season as well. And as is Bournemouth, Bournemouth still pushing for a European qualification. I mean, at the moment, they've got 48 points in the league. And if things were to go their way, they could easily qualify for Europe. And how interesting would that be, having Bournemouth in one of the European competitions? That would be excellent. So they've got plenty to play for. As I say, Crystal Palace have been doing okay this season as well. Selhurst is always a difficult place to go to. Palace will have the home advantage. So I don't know. I think Bournemouth might nick it because they've got a lot to play for. So I'll probably say 1-0 Bournemouth. 1-0 Bournemouth against Crystal Palace. The next game, Everton, Man City. Now, I don't know what's happening with Man City. I mean, it's been well documented, the type of season that they've had. And of course, we now know that Kevin De Bruyne won't be there next year. So, and again, they're still fighting for that top four finish as well. So they need to win that game. It's a must win. It's a must win game for Man City. All the games that they have between now and the rest of the season is a must win. If they lose or draw, then they do risk not qualifying for the Champions League and finishing in the top four for next season. So it's a must-win game for them, but Everton at home could give them a bit of problem. So I'll probably say a draw. I'll say 1-1 in that game. Man City versus Everton. I'll say 1-1. Right, West Ham, Southampton. Yep. Nothing but a West Ham win. I mean, they haven't had a particularly great season themselves, but Southampton are finished. They're done. 10 points in the league. Not great. 26 defeats, not great. So yeah, and it's at the London Stadium, so you'd expect West Ham to win. So I'm saying West Ham 3-0 against Southampton. West Ham 3-0 against Southampton. And then yes, as we've mentioned before, or as we've touched on before, the game of the weekend is definitely Aston Villa versus Newcastle. What a big game that is. Both teams are, aiming for that top four finish. Currently, Newcastle are third, and I think Aston Villa are seventh. So if Villa have any aspirations of getting back into the Champions League, and don't get me wrong, we'd love to see Villa back in the Champions League. I think like they gave a great account of themselves this week. So it'd be a pleasure to watch and see Villa back in the Champions League, but it's not going to be easy. The teams around them are also vying for that top four finish. You've got Chelsea in the mix, you've got Man City in the mix, you've got Forest in the mix, and you've got Newcastle. So it's going to be very, very tough. But I think for those teams in that mix, vying for top four, you just can't afford to lose. If you draw, yeah, you're still in it, but you just can't afford to lose. You need to win. So that's going to be a very tough game. And, Newcastle have impressed me. They have been impressive. And it's just, I don't know. He's just worked magic, Eddie Howe. He's worked magic over there. So it's going to be a tough game. I think Villa should have enough. Villa should have enough to beat Newcastle at home. So Villa are the home team. They're the home side. So they should have enough to beat Newcastle. There'll probably be a lot of goals in that, I think, as well. So I'll probably say maybe 3-2 Aston Villa. 3-2 Aston Villa. But if Newcastle win, it won't come as a surprise because they have been so impressive this season, and they've already won a trophy this season as well. So, but I will say Villa. I'll go Villa. I'll say 3-2 Aston Villa in that game. Now, tomorrow, Sunday, Easter Sunday. We've got the West London derby. So Fulham entertain Chelsea. West London derby. Right. So again, Chelsea, they're in the mix of the top four, so they'll be looking for a win. But Fulham aren't going to give it to them that easy. They're not just going to roll over. And Fulham have been quite good as well this season. So again, that's going to be quite a tough game for Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea are finding their feet, but they haven't been overly impressive this season. So they will have to really, really dig deep to get a win. That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. Fulham, Chelsea. Do you know what? I'll go Fulham win because they've got the home advantage. I'll go Fulham win 2-0. 2-0 Fulham. Right. So Ipswich against Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal performed heroics this week, didn't they? I'm sure we all saw that victory against Real Madrid that nobody expected. What an amazing accomplishment from Arteta this season. Right, so back to Premiership business. I do not see Arsenal losing this game. They can't lose this game. They will probably batter Ipswich, and I reckon Arsenal will win this comfortably 3-0 as well. I think Arsenal will beat Ipswich 3-0. Ipswich don't really have anything to play for. You know, what, 6-7 games left in the season. It's over for Ipswich. Division 1, well, Championship football beckons. So, yeah, that's an Arsenal win. Arsenal won't catch Liverpool. However, they will definitely win this game 3-0 Arsenal. Manchester United, Wolves. Manchester United were very entertaining in the midweek. I mean, I'm sure all you United supporters would have been at the edge of your seats in that game, in that Europa game. So Man United, they're flying high at the moment. I'm sure they'll have a lot of positives in that changing room, and they'll most probably be Wolves. So I'll say United win 2-1. United will win 2-1 against Wolves. In the afternoon or late afternoon kickoff on Sunday, we've got Leicester versus Liverpool. Liverpool winning that all day. Van Dijk has signed his new contract. Everything seems to be going in the right direction for Liverpool. I can't see them losing against Leicester. Again, Leicester finished Championship football next season. Liverpool win 2-1. And then on Monday night, we've got Tottenham Spurs versus Nottingham Forest. Now, Tottenham have already lost 17 games this season. I've already predicted that they will end up losing 20 games this season. And I think Nottingham Forest, being seen as they are trying to get a top 4 position, I think they'll probably just have a bit too much for Spurs. So I'll probably say Nottingham Forest win that 1-0 against Spurs. Although Spurs will be encouraged, having qualified for the semi or progressed to the semi-finals of the Europa League. However, Nottingham Forest have a lot to play for, and I think they'll probably have too much for Spurs. So Nottingham Forest will win that game 1-0 Monday night. Yeah, so it promises to be an entertaining weekend once again. Game week 33, so let's see how that goes. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.